For Pacifica Radio, I'm Christina Onstead. A new United Nations in Gaza may constitute war crimes and crimes against humanity. The Human Rights Office analyzed 6 strikes in the early months. Pacifica Radio, I'm Christina Onstead. A new United Nations report says Israel's strikes in Gaza may constitute war crimes and crimes against humanity. The Human Rights Office analyzed 6 strikes in the early months of the war. Jeremy Lawrence, spokesperson, says they documented the bombs used GBU-31s, 32s, and 39s, 250 to 2,000-pound bombs.
On residential buildings, a school, refugee camps, and a market. Such bombs are mostly used to penetrate through several floors of concrete and can completely collapse tall structures. Given how densely populated the areas targeted were, the use of an explosive weapon with such wide area effects is highly likely to amount to a prohibited, indiscriminate attack.
Lawrence says it's unclear where the bombs came from. Serial numbers would detail that. In the U.S., Boeing and Lockheed Martin manufacture them. Belgium, Canada, Japan, the Netherlands, and Spain have stopped sending arms to Israel, citing the high civilian death toll and humanitarian crisis. The report also says armed Palestinian groups may have committed war crimes as well, firing indiscriminate projectiles into Israel, failing to protect Israeli civilians. Meanwhile, Israeli forces killed at least 18 Palestinians in Gaza today, including 7 in tents in the El Mawasi safe zone for refugees fleeing the Israeli Rafah invasion. Strikes from Israel in southern Lebanon have killed 3 Hezbollah fighters as a U.S. envoy visits the region to stop a wider conflict. FSN's John Beaver has more.
World leaders are calling for an urgent de-escalation between Israel and the Lebanon-based Iranian proxy Hezbollah, as both parties threaten they're ready to go to war. The Israeli military has announced it's drawn up a battle plan, while Hezbollah published drone footage the group says it captured over sensitive sites like Israeli military bases. I'm John Beaver.
In South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa was sworn in for a second term as president today. He now has 2 weeks to appoint a cabinet in a new ruling coalition after his African National Congress party lost its majority in elections last month for the first time since the end of apartheid. Garakai Chonza reports.
The ANC-DA agreement is seen as complex due to their ideological differences. The DA opposition centrist party, seen as a business-friendly, is also the only major party led by a white leader in a country where more than 80% of the population is black. Former President Jacob Zuma's Umkhonto weSizwe party, now the 3rd biggest party, and the Economic Freedom Fighters EFF, the 4th biggest party, are refusing to join a government that includes the DA. These 2 ANC offshoots claim that working with the DA is akin to reviving apartheid and colonialism in South Africa. EFF leader Julius Malema.
We do not agree to this marriage of convenience to consolidate the white monopoly power over the economy and the means of production in South Africa. We have never done so when we were young, and we're not going to do so today.
Political analyst and Professor Adrian Duvenage says coalition building is the best solution to South Africa's problems.
The ANC only received 40.2% of the support in the country. Now, you need to accommodate. You cannot get your own way all the time.
In Grahamstown, Eastern Cape, South Africa, this is Garakai Chonza reporting.
Today is Juneteenth, a national holiday to celebrate the last slaves in Texas who were informed of their freedom, ending slavery. New research published in the Russell Sage Foundation Journal this month finds reparations for harms resulting from the enslavement of nearly 4 million people people are possible and affordable. Legislation has languished in Congress for more than 30 years, but the study finds there are more than 70 programs in which the federal government pays reparatory compensation to millions of Americans. Since the 1930s, the government has made payments for many types of harms, including personal injury, illness, disease, financial loss, natural disasters, and social injustices, like reparations to Japanese Americans and in some cases their descendants who were forced into internment camps during World War II. President Joe Biden announced a new program to create a pathway to citizenship for an estimated 500,000 undocumented spouses of U.S. citizens. Christopher Martinez reports.
Under the new program, an undocumented spouse who has been here for at least a decade can file for legal status and get work authorization without having to return to their home country with no certainty of being able to re-enter the U.S.
The steps I'm taking today are overwhelmingly supported by the American people, no matter what the other team says. In fact, polls show over 70% of Americans support this effort to keep families together.
Biden's actions were met with quick applause from immigrant rights activists. The Los Angeles-based group Siren, Services, Immigrant Rights and Education Network, praised the Biden order as much-needed and welcome action, while going on to call for further actions like expanded visa programs and faster asylum processing. The National Domestic Workers Alliance calls the action a big deal for domestic workers, and also a big deal for the nation's care infrastructure. On the other hand, the new action comes just 2 weeks after another Biden executive order, a border crackdown that largely shut the southern border to asylum seekers. That move was blasted by immigrant rights activists. I'm Christopher Martinez.
Wildfire season is here. There are wildfires in 16 states, according to the independent wildfire tracker Fire Weather Avalanche. The vast majority in the U.S. West, like New Mexico, where fires have burned more than 20,000 acres and are blamed for at least one death. Millions of Americans are dealing with stifling heat as a heat wave that started in the Southwest heads east. A heat dome stretches from the Midwest to the East Coast. I'm Christina Onnested, reporting for Pacifica Radio.